Board Member Figueroa,
Present.
alternate Board Member Blackburn, Board Member Nunez, present, Board Member Spellick,
Present.
Board Member Becker, present, Chair Melendez,
Present.
for the record, Vice Chair Garcia is absent.
Thank you. Now please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now we're including a new item for our procedures, have an approval of the agenda. Our CEO, Grace Wade, we would ask if you have any changes to the agenda today.
No, Chair, no changes.
All right, and I believe I need to get a motion for the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
approval.
I'll second.
Thank you so much. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Board Member Figueroa.
Aye.
Board Member Blackburn. Board Member Nunez,
Yes.
Board Member Spellick.
Aye.
Board Member Becker,
Yes.
Chair Melendez.
Yes. Thank you. Next, we will have any board comments and announcements. Do I have any announcements from the board? Well, I just want to say thank you all for being here, and I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday next week. In the meantime, we're going to take public comment. I believe we have one public commenter, Daniel Dominguez.
Thank you. First off, I'd like to extend my sincere thanks to the Clean Energy Alliance Board of Directors for giving me the opportunity to speak. And I also like to recognize the CAO staff for their work behind the scenes to ensure community voices are heard and that the Alliance remains transparent and responsive and mission focused. My name is Daniel Dominguez. I'm a longtime resident of the city of Oceanside. I'm also on the Community Advisory Committee for the CEA, but I just want to clarify, as I've done before, that my comments today are strictly my own and they are not in any way connected to the Community Advisory Committee. First off, I'd like to talk about, there was a news article today in the San Diego Union. It was regarding the Public Utilities Commission having a preliminary decision to reduce the rate of return for SDG&E. And so, as a former union leader, I spent a lot of time at the PUC, either advocating for proposals or regulations or advocating against. And the PUC is proposing, or the ALJ is proposing, to reduce the rate of return by 35 basis points. For those of you not familiar what a basis point is, it's 1/100th%. So essentially they're proposing to reduce the rate of return by 1/3%. The rate of return is what the utility gets, the investor-owned utility gets, for money they spent on enhancing or increasing the reliability of the electrical grid. And so what happens is they propose all these projects, PUC either approves or doesn't approve it, and then they give a rate of return. And so the rate of return that the judge is proposing is a 9.88. And let me put that in perspective. That is a risk-free rate of return. For comparison, the normal rate of return for risk-free money, with either bonds, CDs, is approximately 3.5% to 4%. And so what they're proposing is, or the PUC has given them, is 2 to 3 times the amount of the risk-free money. Let me talk about my experience too, because I have worked in the utility for almost 40 years. And so to put something in perspective, when I worked at the San Onofre plant, and they had this system they built in that would jettison little foam balls through a heat exchanger. The plant was built in '82, they put the system in, they tested it maybe once, maybe twice, and every time they did, they polluted the beach and the ocean with tens of thousands of little foam balls. So they never ran the system yet. Every few years, they would bring in the vendor who was in Germany to fine tune and work on the system, but they never ran it. And I was confused in my early years, why are we doing this? It doesn't work, we're never gonna run it. Well, I realized they were getting a rate of return for continuing to maintain the system. So, eventually they decommissioned the system somewhere around the 2000 timeframe. And I'm sure they got a rate of return for the project of decommissioning the system. So, as I said, I spent a lot of time at the CPUC, and they, the utilities, investor-owned utilities comes in with a rate case, and it's like multiple volumes. They propose this money. The PUC, grants them some amount or all of whatever they wanted in the rate case. But the PUC never checks or verifies that the money they requested in all these little projects was ever spent on those little projects. They just give them a big pile of money, and it's the honor system that the utility is going to spend the money on what they said. Well, sometimes the honor system breaks down because Southern California Edison, a couple of times, wound up asking money for the same thing, and they were caught. And it was oopsie. And to this day, for a while, the PUC started auditing some, but that's fallen away. They got new commissioners, so they don't no longer audit them. So.
Thank you, Mr. Dominguez, for your comments. We do have a 3-minute timer for our speakers, and we will take your advisement. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any further public comments?
Mr. Jimmy Knoll.
Jimmy Knoll?
Seabrill, Oceanside.
I'm so sorry, Steve. I believe that Jimmy.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, we'll give
I
you-
will yield to this man any day of the week.
Wonderful. We'll hear from you next, Steve. Thank you.
It's good, Steve. He's another, just a senior rep from the city of Oceanside. Yeah, I'm the senior rep of City of Oceanside 2018. He is this year's senior rep. So wanted to come forward and thank you for all your considerations and to advocate for the seniors. And I know that I guess I'm just inquiring just to make sure that number 7 is about the rate decrease potential for seniors in Oceanside and low-income individuals. I would like to have some clarification to see if that is in what is your intent.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for coming to speak. This item for public comment is for items that are not on the agenda. And when we come back to item 7, we will receive a presentation from the staff, which might answer some of your questions, and you're welcome to come and speak again on item 7.
Just wanted to clarify that.
Absolutely. Thank you for
Thank you.
being here. Do we have any further public comment on items that are not on the agenda?
Steve, I think.
I believe we may have had Steve. Okay, all right, we will go ahead and proceed. Next, we'll move forward with. Steve, did you want to be recognized for items not on the agenda?
On, item 7. So I have to
Okay, all
wait,
right, we'll come back to you then, thank you. All right, next we'll move to the approval of the minutes for the meeting held on October 30th. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move to approve.
All right, moved by Nunez,
Second.
and a second, could I please have a vote?
Board Member Figueroa.
Aye.
Alternate Board Member Blackburn. Board Member Nunez.
Yes.
Board Member Spellick.
Aye.
Board Member Becker.
Yes.
Chair Morris.
Yes. Thank you, that motion passes. Next, we have a presentation from the San Diego Regional Energy Network updates. Colin Stenduli, did I get that right? Thank you. Senior Director. Stentuli, Senior Director of Programs with San Diego Community Power, will provide an update. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. You have some slides. Okay.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Colin Stentuli. I oversee the programs department at your sister CCA, San Diego Community Power, in the southern part of the county. I'm joined here today by 3 of my team members who are going to go over the various programs that are part of the San Diego Regional Energy Network. So just as a bit of background, the San Diego Regional Energy Network is a suite of energy efficiency programs, 10 programs to be specific, that we administer in partnership with the county, San Diego County. I'd like to recognize Ricky Williams, who's here in the audience, and thank him for the partnership for our work. For clarification, you guys can probably expect us being here. REN programs are available to everyone in the county, regardless of who their load serving entity is. And so that's why we're here today to talk about the programs that are going to be available to CEA customers, as well as in power customers and anyone living in the county. So as a bit of a background, we worked as early as the beginning of 2024 to submit an application to the California Public Utilities Commission for approval for a $124 million package of the programs that we're going to talk about today. We heard back from the commission in August that our application was approved and we were officially designated a program administrator. As I mentioned, it includes 10 programs and the budget runs from 2024 through 2027. The Regional Energy Networks target underserved and hard-to-reach residents, businesses, public agencies, and tribal governments across the region. So specifically, we are targeting gaps in the programs that other administrators are already offering. So San Diego Gas and Electric has a suite of energy efficiency programs. Those are out in the market now. There's other statewide programs that are offered. The REN is here to fill gaps, and specifically fill gaps for underserved and hard-to-reach residents. The schematic that you have there kind of talks through the governance system that I mentioned. The community power, we partner with the county. We kind of co-administer the program, sharing the oversight administration. We're the community power ourselves are the lead portfolio administrator, and that's just a CPUC term indicating that we are accountable and responsible for the delivery of those programs. The residential, workforce, commercial, public, and codes and standards, those teams represent the different sectors that we're going to talk about today and the different kind of target audiences of the programs. We also will have an advisory committee that will inform strategy and direction for REN as a whole. That advisory committee will be made up of 19 different members. We're aiming for a variety of different stakeholder groups, from CDOs to regional governments, trade groups and organizations, and we're aiming for a geographic distribution as well, ideally from all across the 5 supervisorial districts of the county. A little bit again on the timeline, like I mentioned, we submitted our business plan application in January. In August, we received our approval. Since that time, we've really been heads down working with internally to bring in implementers to run the programs. We won't be actually running the programs ourselves. We'll work with experts out in the field to help run the variety of programs. We split these up into phases to put a little bit less wear and tear on our procurement teams and on our legal teams. We have most of, or all of the phase 1 programs are completed. We're working right now on our phase 2 and our phase 2 programs. We expect the programs will be out in the public and available for applications between the first and second quarter of next calendar year. And so now what we had planned was to walk through each one of these programs you have listed here. They're shown on the screen with the budgets. Walk through each one of the programs with my colleagues, and we're available for questions about those specific programs after the presentation. So we'll start first with workforce development.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Allison Spurlock, and I'm a Senior Program Associate at San Diego Community Power. We have 2 workforce programs, so I'll talk about our first one, which is the Adult Workforce Program. This workforce training capacity building program is designed to build capacity of the clean energy workforce in the San Diego region by working directly with individuals, training programs, CDOs, and employers to increase opportunities for education, training, certification, job connection, and retention in long-term energy careers. The program will focus on skill development for individuals that are interested in entering or upskilling in the clean energy workforce. Individuals can receive training and certifications and be provided with pathways to enter the clean energy workforce. They can also receive wraparound service support, such as resume development, interviewing prep, things like that. And then additionally, this program will engage with employers, and participating employers can receive help to develop policies that promote employee training, allocate funding for external training, and allocate time for skill development. I'll now pass it off to my colleague to talk about our other workforce program.
Hi everyone, Amy Whitehouse. I'm Senior Program Manager at Community Power, and I am leading management for our second workforce program you see on the screen, our 2 public sector programs, and our codes and standards program. So you guys will have me here for a few slides. Starting with our Energy Pathways program, this program's goal is really to increase high school students' awareness of and access to clean energy careers. It does so by providing students and their support network, which includes educators and school districts, with access to resources like no-cost curriculum that's aligned with career technical education credits, the opportunity to dually enroll at a community college and receive additional credits that way, and also provide them with the opportunity to participate in paid internships so they can really get some on-the-ground job experience. And we know that high school students might need some additional support, so our services kind of go beyond the educational and training components and support students more holistically with connecting them to a mentor that can provide professional development like resume, training, how to interview, just kind of how to enter the workforce. And we'll also be connecting them to wraparound services that address barriers such as transportation or access to technology to really make sure they can make the most of these opportunities. And moving on to our programs that are available for public agencies. I'll start with our codes and standards program. This program really aims to improve regional compliance with Title 24, which is our state's building code. And in addition to supporting jurisdictions with just improving compliance rates with permitting, it also supports jurisdictions that are interested in implementing a REACH code, which goes above and beyond what's required for the state. We'll really be working with authorities having jurisdiction, their building and permitting departments, and providing those folks with resources like templates, technical assistance, access to experts that can answer questions, and really focusing on opportunities to streamline the permitting process between building folks, permitting officials that are out in the field, maybe the sustainability staff that's interested in REACH codes. One component I'm really excited about this program is our energy code coaches. We have 6 or 7 experts in the field who will be available to provide expertise to these jurisdictions and even often in-person support to jurisdictions that need it most for some behind the permitting counter expertise, and really kind of embed themselves within the jurisdiction and help improve their systems. Next, I'll talk about our climate resilience leadership program. This is for, our public agencies, and the goal is really to remove barriers for public agencies that want to complete energy efficiency projects. So, energy efficiency is an important strategy for public agencies to achieve their climate goals, and this program has the opportunity to deliver real kilowatt-hour energy savings to folks, primarily through offering financial incentives for the direct installation of energy efficiency equipment. So we can deliver and install that equipment for low to no cost for participating public agencies. So eligible public agencies, that includes local governments, tribal governments, school districts, special districts. And in addition to providing those financial incentives to drive down project costs, we'll also be able to support the projects more holistically through technical assistance, providing project manager support, being able to offer facility audits and energy analysis and planning, as well as just some broader, more capacity building activities like educational webinars on up and coming energy efficiency technology. And the last program I have for you today is our Tribal Engagement Program. We were designing the portfolio for the San Diego Regional Energy Network. We wanted to make sure that we had some resources that were dedicated to our region's tribes. As many of you know, San Diego County has more tribes than any other county in the country. So this program does just that by providing tribes with access to funding and the opportunity to propose their own energy efficiency initiative, and really say what are their energy goals and how can we help them achieve them. So they'll receive technical assistance from the proposal of their initiative all the way through implementation. We'll even look to provide some direct funding for activities such as a community engagement, or something like that that really helps make their proposal a reality. We envision that this program will also take advantage of the previous programs incentives I mentioned, the Climate Resilience Leadership Program. So, for example, if a tribe wanted to propose energy efficiency upgrades at tribal headquarters, we could then refer them to our other program and they could leverage those financial incentives to really just optimize the resources available to them. But through this program, we wanted to make sure tribes had a consistent and dedicated, culturally sensitive point of contact throughout their experience with our portfolio. And that is it for me. I'm going to pass it off to my colleague Marissa for residential.
Thank you, Amy. Good afternoon, CEA directors, leadership, and staff. Thank you again so much for having us here today. My name is Marissa Van Sant. I am a senior program manager with Community Power's customer programs team, and my role is to manage SDREN's 2 residential programs and 2 of our 3 commercial programs, all of which I'll be touching on today. And then Allison will come back up and touch on our 3rd commercial program. So beginning with the residential sector, the importance of serving residents throughout our region, which is San Diego County, is it has a substantial opportunity for decarbonization. And really those opportunities stem from, first, our high population. San Diego County is the 2nd most populated county in California. Approximately 50% of our housing stock is over 50 years old, so it has a high opportunity for upgrade, also replacing inefficient systems and also possibly bringing up properties to better health and safety standards. 56% of our region's population also lives in what is identified as an underserved community. So it's really important for us to think holistically about all of the barriers and impacts that are already affecting residents in our community and then how programs can effectively serve them. So starting with SDREN's single family program, it's designed to provide no-cost technical assistance and funding to support low to no-cost direct installation energy efficiency upgrades for single-family mobile homeowners as well as renters. The program will target hard-to-reach and underserved communities while offering incentives and services on a sliding scale. So we're really going to be targeting underserved and hard-to-reach communities that have specific definitions, and then other residents and renters that fall outside of hard-to-reach and underserved communities will still be able to receive access to services. Those services may not come in the form of 100% funding for upgrades, but they'll come in the form of post-installation incentives that help offset the cost of projects. And then we'll also look to other regional programs in San Diego that can help provide what's called program layering, leveraging, or braiding. That's where we bring in other programs to provide resources or funding to help offset the cost of a project.
I have a question for you. How many homes or residents do you expect to serve under this program? What are the estimates?
That's a great question. We are still finalizing all of the targets with our soon-to-be implementers, but at least at a high level, we're targeting over 1,000 homes in the region. A couple slides previously, maybe I'll click back to that for just a moment. The incentive budgets for these programs are quite robust. So in phase 2 is where you can see our residential programs. The 2 bullets at the bottom, single family and multifamily. On the right, those $12 million and $6.5 million budgets respectively are for our incentives. So we have really healthy incentive budgets that can support these no-cost direct installations as well as layering with other regional programs. Great question, thank you. Lastly, and actually a great segue, is the program layering and leveraging also helps point customers to resources that exist that can further help lower their bills, such as rates. So bill analysis is going to be part of our no-cost technical assistance. And what that will entail is sitting down with residents and looking at their energy bills, identifying when they use energy most, when it costs the most, and then are there opportunities for rates that exist that they could potentially transfer to that can lower their overall costs. So as I was reviewing CEA's program page earlier today, I see the Peak Smart Savers program might be a great opportunity for us to be able to promote to residents once we've been able to provide incentives for projects that they can see ongoing savings. Shifting over to multifamily, multifamily has a very similar program design as single family in that it provides low to no cost energy efficiency upgrades in the form of incentives and rebates, as well as no cost technical assistance. This program though, as its name states, will be serving multifamily property owners and the residents that live in those properties. We will be targeting properties with 2 or more units, which opens up opportunities that are not already served by SDG&Es or typically multifamily programs, which have a minimum threshold of 5 units or more. So we're really hoping to be able to capture a lot of our smaller garden style properties or just be able to extend benefits to residents that have never received them before. This program will also be unique in that, again, we are going to be working first with property owners. That is the best way to get them on board with holistic property upgrades. And then within that, explain to them that there are offers that we can extend directly to their residents that don't even have to be in the form of upgrades themselves. So we will provide what are called energy efficiency kits, and this will include either educational information or low-cost self-installation technologies that can really start to help them start their journey with energy efficiency. And so these methods to contact and provide direct connections to renters and benefits to renters, whether or not they actually receive any upgrades, is a big focus of this program. And then lastly, as far as residential programs are concerned, in both programs, we're going to be measuring success by the amount of kilowatt hour or kWh savings achieved, the number of energy efficiency kits that are delivered, and the number of projects completed. Any other questions on residential?
Yes, thank you. I would like a little bit more detail on the energy efficiency kits. I'm specifically thinking about a number of my constituents who live in our mobile home parks and struggle with affordability, but also with energy efficiency. Are the energy efficiency kits more educational? You mentioned technologies. Does that include things like appliances and installation? What do those kits include?
Great question. So appliances and equipment would be covered under incentives and rebates, and that would fall under a whole project that would be facilitated by the program. The energy efficiency kits are provided whether or not we're upgrading any appliances or technologies in the home. And so yes, they will include educational resources, but we're still waiting to identify what technologies are best to also potentially introduce within those through a needs assessment. So in both our single family and multifamily programs, the implementers that we're bringing on board, they will be doing needs assessments to evaluate other programs that already provide services that are similar to this and try to fill the gaps within that. Perhaps even depending further on that needs assessment, if we segment it by region or if we receive, input such as the input that you just provided, that there may be certain needs specific to mobile home renters, we may offer different, aspects of an energy efficiency kit for those.
Okay, and just to follow up on that, whether it's mobile home resident or another residence, would installation be one of the tools that you can pursue and potentially, whether it's through this program or a referred program, would you be able to assist with installation?
Exactly. That's what no cost direct installation means, is that is where the program is working with the homeowner to then bring in a contractor and to actually upgrade that. There is no then responsibility on the homeowner, the renter, the occupant to then go find their own contractor. There may be different pathways that participants can pursue because some people really do already have connections with contractors. And so depending on that preference and also eligibility, if they're going to receive equipment at 100% no cost and that's through a contractor of the program, perhaps they want to pursue that. But if they want to pursue receiving incentives after a project is complete to help offset the cost, it may not be 100% funding, but they have a contractor that can meet our minimum qualifications, we may pursue that path. So we really want to provide flexibility and ensuring that we're meeting customers where they are.
Any other questions? Member Nunes?
Yes, Chair, I have a follow-up question. I think it's related to this topic, following our chair's question. As somebody that represents an underserved community with a lot of low income and multifamily residents, I'm thinking through how much work it takes to educate and to do outreach, especially for some of these programs. So how is it that you're delivering all of these programs and services and potential options for, and since you had mentioned focus on underserved communities and residents?
Great questions. So again, our needs assessments are being deployed by consultants who are experts in these areas. And they will be identifying where opportunities are needed most in our community based on the hard to reach and underserved definitions that the California Public Utilities Commission provides. And what those typically identify are disadvantaged communities based on Cal Enviro screens, as well as all tribal communities are considered underserved. So there are specific definitions that help us identify where those communities may be. And then we'll segment further from there to identify which neighborhoods, which census tracts may have the best need for our outreach services. And then we have an outreach team who will be going out and conducting that, whether it's through digital outreach or whether it's through boots on the ground outreach directly out to properties to talk to the property owners. There's a myriad of campaigns that can be led. I've personally worked in low-income multifamily programs for the last 5 years, so there is an art certainly to identifying the right customers, but through a coordinated effort in first identifying where the best needs are, and then boots on the ground outreach is how we're hoping to get the word out. In addition to, that's why we're talking to you all today, to let you know about these programs and so that you can also help maybe promote them and let us know where the needs are. So hopefully there's going to be some follow-up. We're coordinating with your team on a monthly basis already. So hopefully the ongoing coordination can happen and we'll be able to address all of your interests and needs.
Member Figueroa?
Yeah, can you speak a little bit to phase 1 of the workforce development and code and standards programs and what that entails?
That is for my colleague Amy. Do you want to come back up and answer that question, or should I?
Open it. Yeah, let's take that question if you could.
Okay.
Sure.
So do you, could you repeat the question and I'll try to just fill in what specifics you might be looking for?
For phase 1, just as far as where is the implementation taking place, target audience, I know that we're mentioning for communities, but what does this look like holistically, comprehensively serving our community?
Yeah, so I can go back to those slides, starting with our workforce programs. So our workforce programs, like all of our programs, are available to all folks within San Diego County. As Colin mentioned, we are, as a REN, targeting underserved and hard to reach folks, making sure all of our programs are accessible to those folks. That's a priority of RENs. Marissa just explained a little bit more about how we identify those folks. There are some existing definitions that we're looking for. So we will be making sure those sort of zip codes, census tracts that we mentioned that meet those definitions, that we're focusing outreach to those folks to participate in these workforce programs. So that might look like working with Title IX schools for our energy pathways, making sure we're connecting with those educators. We're working with the San Diego County Office of Ed to kind of help spread the awareness of our program. And I'm trying to think of how else to elucidate target audience here.
So the program is more of a curriculum that would be implemented within specific already existing educational
Classrooms.
programs. Okay.
Yeah, the Energy Pathways program, we're gonna provide the educators access to and training to those curriculum and opportunities so they can support the students that move through it.
And then who facilitates that curriculum? Do you train the trainers, or is it someone from the team?
Yes, good question. It's train the trainer. So we'll have like a website that teachers are able to access and download all the curriculum, but we also do offer in-person support where we can come and do a lab day with students and do some interview training. We recognize teachers are under a lot of pressure to meet requirements, so we're able to like get to the schools and support them in delivering the program as well.
Given the unfortunate federal hold act in supporting the Green Initiative, what kind of visibility do you have in terms of you're going to do all of this, and then are there going to be job opportunities out there? Have you had a chance to look at that yet? And
Yeah.
what do you see?
That's a good question. I think in general, we're heartened by our states and our region's commitment into our climate goals and our jurisdictions and how invested they are in that. I think energy efficiency equipment, there is some strong data about that need being pervasive, but the workforce programs also are conducting a needs assessment as their first activity. So that involves sending surveys out broadly to employers, to people that are offering trainers, to job seekers, and really saying, where is the need? Where are the gaps? Like, what industry do you see is growing? They're also going to do a data analysis to support that, so we can really make sure that the trainings and the curriculum that we're offering is aligning with what is perceived as the current need in the region.
I saw Member Nunez as well. Yes, thank you, Chair. I've had the opportunity to work on what started out as SURF and then became the California Jobs First program that the governor has championed throughout the state. The focus on job creation and sustainability efforts throughout the state. Is there a connection to our governor's initiative?
Not formally, but I think that research on existing programs and how they've performed and what opportunities they've provided will definitely be incorporated into our needs assessment. All of our programs do look to leverage either findings or opportunities to take advantage of other programs when possible. So we are looking to coordinate whenever we can.
So what does that actually look like?
So I'm not as familiar with the Jobs First program, but I anticipate like the experts we've hired to do this, like in their research and their needs assessment, if that's current, if there was data based on the performance of how that was, that would be incorporated into the findings and influence how we deliver our program regionally.
So I would very much be interested in getting more information because it's been such a priority of our governor and the amount of investment that has gone into. And I suspect that I remember part of the initiative was to align locally and then what other funds would be possible to bring to our region. So I would very much be interested in anybody who's following that thread.
Yeah, as we do our research and begin to conduct our findings and staff with other programs, if we would be happy to share an update on how we might work that program. We are not formally partnering with them in any sense. We're really focused on using our state funding, which is coming from a different bucket, and having this really regionally first specific approach with how we're delivering.
So I'm just trying to think though, in terms of the work that you're doing and how it relates. For instance, I know our local community colleges have been very involved with California Jobs First in transitioning curriculum and programs that are responsive to the current and future workforce. So it surprises me that there's not a connection.
So we will be working with community colleges. Again, I know there's a lot of components of this program, so I'm happy to talk to our subject matter experts who are conducting this research, engaging with these partners, and come back and share our findings.
I would definitely want to see that.
Thank you, board members. Welcome you to continue the presentation. If there are no further questions.
All right, I'm back. Thank you for all the questions. So now I'm going to speak about 2 of our 3 commercial programs that are going to be targeted to small to medium businesses. So first, as a whole, SDRN's commercial programs are designed to deliver equitable services, again, to the hard-to-reach communities that we've identified, and specifically the small to medium business owners and tenants that operate within them, and specifically to accelerate the installation of energy efficiency technologies and create a pathway for long-term energy savings. The first program of our offering is called the Small to Medium Business Energy Coach Program. We envision this to be the gateway program for small to medium business owners and occupants. This is really, as the name says, an energy coaching program where there will be a designated energy coach to every participant who will help walk them through first evaluating their business's energy efficiency needs and identifying the ways that they can lower energy. This program does have a small incentive budget that will be utilized for no cost direct installation. Again, that's free technologies provided by a contractor from the program. And those technologies will be a limited suite because we hope to then be able to provide additional services through our other commercial programs, either the market access program or the efficient refrigeration program that can help supplement where that funding can come from. This program, again, the Small to Medium Business Energy Coach is identified as a concierge-style advisory services program where the technical assistance and no-cost energy efficiency measures really start a business owner's journey in energy efficiency. So we hope to navigate customers through this program first and then be able to refer them to other programs where they can continue to maximize their benefits. The next of our commercial offerings kind of switches 180, where this is our deep upgrade program. Market access programs already exist, and so we are utilizing this model, which is a performance-based incentive model, which means that we will be paying contractors who participate in the program based on actual measured energy savings from the projects that they complete. And what that means is that they enter the program knowing what the rate of incentive they would be paid based on the kilowatt hours or total system benefit savings. And so contractors are really excited about these projects or these programs because they don't necessarily have to understand the incentives based on each measure. Rather, they can design what's called a measured flexible scope of work, and then we will evaluate and approve that based on its estimated energy savings. And then the project goes underway. The contractor comes back to us, provides us with the documentation stating that the project is complete, and then it will go through 12 months of energy measurement and evaluation. And contractors will be paid in increments through that measurement period until they receive the funding that was forecasted based on the energy savings. And this is a really unique opportunity for us to engage the contractor community, but also provide a more streamlined pathway for energy efficiency programs to the business community as well. So clear incentive rates and flexible measures is really a big takeaway, but then deep energy savings for the market access program. And that concludes my presentation for today. I'll hand it back over to Allison.
Yes, last but not least, we have our efficient refrigeration program. So this program will serve small scale corner stores, grocery stores, and small businesses that sell a limited selection of food and other products. Through the program, these participants will be able to receive energy efficient fridges and freezers at no cost to stock with fresh foods. This will help support them with energy cost savings as well as improved access to healthy fresh foods in their communities. Through the program, we will provide one-on-one support to participants to help them choose which equipment they would like, as well as education and resources on sourcing produce and product placement and promotion. And lastly, San Diego Community Power has actually been piloting this program out over the last year, so we're really excited to expand it to the whole county. And I'll turn it back to Colin for closing remarks.
Right. As Marissa said, we've been working closely with the CEA staff. We appreciate it. They've been great partners. They have invited us to, I think, some upcoming member agency meetings. We'll be able to do a similar presentation to staff at the member agencies of CEA, and all for ourselves to come back to kind of do deeper presentations on individual programs. Codes and standards program, obviously very important to member agency staff, and there's other groups, other programs that may be interesting or willing to come back and either in this audience or with the member agencies to provide more detail. That concludes our presentation.
Yes.
I just was curious, so all of these programs and all of, I guess, your salaries, is that coming from this pot of the 124 million?
That's correct.
Okay, and so just curious how much your overhead is, how much goes to the programs?
The 124 million is the full program budget. We are capped at a 10% overhead, and that includes not just salaries of the staff here for programs. We also have regulatory staff. There's also outreach staff as well.
Okay, and how long do you think this 124 million?
We were approved for a 4-year budget. And we're hopeful that was based on estimates of the timeline I showed you started in January 2024. We worked on that business plan that was submitted for about 18 months beforehand, doing research to see what we thought what programs would actually fill gaps, and the budgets were developed based on what we thought the need was. And so that's a long way of saying we're hopeful that we can spend down that 124 million during that 4-year time period. I'm sure year and a half.
Really sounds good. Thank you for finding that little niche market, hopefully.
Yes.
Help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions, Melissa? Well, I just had one follow-up question. I'm very excited about the efficient refrigeration program. I was wondering if it would be available to nonprofits that are conducting food distribution, or if it's only for stores and other commercial projects.
Yeah, the eligibility is still being finalized, but I will say for our pilot program for San Diego Community Power right now, we do allow nonprofits in food distribution, so.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you so much to the San Diego Regional Energy Network for being here today and for partnering with us on these programs. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Change in the mood lighting. Okay. So move on to our consent calendar. Do we have any speakers on consent?
We don't have any speakers on consent.
All right, then with that, we would entertain a motion for consent calendar.
I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
All right, I heard a motion from the member Becker and seconded by Nunez. Please vote.
Board Member Figueroa.
Aye.
Alternate Board Member Blackburn. Board Member Nunez.
Yes.
Board Member Spellich.
Aye.
Board Member Becker.
Yes.
Chair Millians.
Yes. Thank you. That will bring us to our reports. We have a report from our CEO, Greg Wade.
Thank you, Chair Melendez, members of the board. This is the monthly CEO operational and administrative report. This is an update on where we stand in enrollment. This shows the enrollment by member agency. I'm going to go over each of these numbers, but we currently serve 255,627 customers, 1,473 of which have those accounts have opted up to our 100% green impact. And you can see the clean impact 50% renewable product, and obviously the default product as the lion's share of our customer enrollment. Our staff has been actively engaged, as I've reported, over the summer and in the fall in many outreach events. We've just been out in the community, meeting with members of the community. We've completed our energy programs workshops, and we're compiling the feedback received from those workshops. I'm not going to go over all of these. I and other staff have been giving presentations locally, participating in panels, and coordinating with other clean energy interests in the county. We've got a couple upcoming events. This is the time of year, though, where things kind of slow down, so we'll take a little bit of a breather as we head into the holiday season. We've got one presentation coming up for the City Council of Swan Beach on December 10th, and then we are participating in a holiday sponsor a family event. We're proud to participate not only in adopting a family as we did last year for the holiday season, but also in this event where we're volunteering time, and our staff is very eager to participate in those outreach events. We've been continuing to implement our programs that, as a reminder, have been implemented without cost to CEA, so no discretionary funds. These are fully supported by either SGIP and the Connect programs, or by partnerships with our program administrators. You can see the numbers there at the bottom. We're still rolling out the Solar Plus program, and as you can see, the interest in the Solar Plus Connect and Battery Bonus Connect programs, those are the self-generation incentive program funded. Size of the program for income eligible applicants was very well received, to the extent that with our partners, we were able to apply for just over $2.2 million worth of incentive benefit. We'll say that we're a little bit delayed here. The Public Utilities Commission has been planning to act on the proposed decision that, as you may recall, was relieving the requirement to have a demand response program, although we do have one and we made application that is still pending. They eliminated that requirement for SGIP eligibility, and they keep continuing this item. As a matter of fact, just continued it from today to the meeting in December. The good news is that the issues at play that are subject to these continuances do not affect the relief of that demand response program requirements. So we're just eager to get these going, because we've got several, over 100 applicants who are waiting to take advantage of this. We spoke last board meeting about our Peak Smart Savers program. It is now skyrocketed. It's a little joke there, to 26 participants. But again, this is a pilot program, so we're being cautious about how it's being rolled out, so we can monitor how well customers respond to events that are called in terms of reducing their energy use during peak demand, and then also how much cost savings might be enjoyed by these customers. So still eager to see some more enrollment to get a better sort of breadth of data for us to report back to the board. Wanted to highlight the Energy Academy sponsorship that we did this year. The Energy Academy was launched in 2024 by EPIC, the Energy Policy Initiative Center, and the San Diego Regional Climate Collaborative. It's an energy curriculum that includes 4 in-person sessions with lectures and field trips, and participation is free of charge and includes transport and lunch. We sponsored at the battery level sponsor for fall. We got an extra 0 in there. That's a long time in the future if we're looking at that day, but in fall of this year, and we're also sponsoring the spring cohort. The foundational sponsors were SDG&E and Community Power, San Diego Community Power. Would like to underscore that we encourage board members and board alternates to take advantage of this, as well as community advisory committee members. We had one of our staff members participate in this fall's cohort, and we have enrollees on staff for the spring. So again, it's a good way to get some education base, expand education in energy issues. We are also working on a bill calculator tool that we hope to deploy by the end of this calendar year, or maybe in January. This is a bill comparison calculator that we'll put on our website that helps differentiate CEA service, the generation side of the bill compared to SDG&E and their bundled rates. So customers will obviously need a copy of their bill to be able to upload the information into this tool. But we think it's another way to be transparent about where your costs are going, how they're divided up, and what the comparison might be to bundled service. So that concludes the CEO report, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Greg. Do we have any public comments on this report?
We don't have any comments.
Okay, I'll just make a quick note, in my discussions with CEO in regards to the Peak Smart Savers program. It's a valuable program to our customers because they can significantly reduce their energy costs with those alerts, letting them know how to adjust their energy usage. But of course, a high enrollment could result in some, unreliable revenues for us. And so I believe we've identified maybe our sweet spot looking like 50 to 100 enrollments so that we can start to collect data on what that actual difference is for our customers. And that way we can have a more effective pilot program. So we're hoping to start to get closer to those benchmarks at the 1-year mark of that program, which is around April, May of next year. So that would be something that I'll be looking at. Are there any other comments for Greg on this CEO report? All right, seeing none. We're going to go ahead and move forward to public hearings.
Before we leave that, I do want to point out for the PC, we talked about Peak Smart, that we did release a new Peak Smart Savers toolkit that board members can use in their social media information for their communities, and we did provide that to the board. And we'll be adding that to the Dropbox folder, so you'll have direct access to it.
Awesome. That way we can promote that program amongst our constituencies. Next, we'll move on to public hearings, considering adoption of Clean Energy Alliance resolution, setting rates and approving agreements with Luminia for CEA's Solar Plus Business Program. I will now open the public hearing. CEO Greg Wade will present the item along with a presentation. Do we have any speakers on this item?
We don't have any speakers on this item.
All right, so we will go ahead and receive the presentation.
Thank you, Chair Melendez. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Rob Howard, who's been spearheading this effort, and he'll give the presentation.
Thank you, Rob.
Howard. Thank you, Chair Melendez and board. I want to actually have a conversation about approving the execution of the Luminia agreements for item 4. And the recommendation, we'll start with that, is that the Clean Energy Alliance Board of Directors conduct a public hearing, open the hearing, receive public testimony, and close the public hearing. And 2, adopt a resolution, and that resolution is number 2025-044, setting the rates of the Solar Plus Business Program. And 3, approve the program agreement with Luminia, BTM Devco 1 LLC, called Luminia, and authorize the CEO to execute all documents subject to general and special counsel approval. To give you some background, currently, Clean Energy Alliance has Solar Plus programs that we already have, but they provide single-family residential customers with solar and battery systems, and there's also, as a part of the program, we have batteries for existing solar systems. As you heard previously about our Connect program, those programs are for low-income solar and batteries available through that program. Now, parts of that, the program design is that the program does not require a credit check, and the program does not require out-of-pocket payment to enroll in the program. And the current programs do not include commercial, industrial, multi-unit residences, or municipal customers. The RFP was issued in March of 2025 for behind-the-meter commercial and industrial service providers. We received proposals from 5 interested parties. Staff evaluated those entries, did interviews, and selected Luminia as the program administrator for the Solar Plus Business Program. To give you some information about the program, as a program administrator, Luminia will be responsible for the day-to-day program management with turnkey execution of the projects, program administration, marketing and outreach, project origination and development, asset management, including the operations and maintenance on those projects, and program reporting and compliance. The program will be open to CEA, commercial, industrial, multifamily dwellings, and municipal customers in our service territory. The program will provide local, clean, reliable energy and storage. The solar plus battery systems that will be, the solar and battery systems that will be a part of the program will have replacement and warranty coverage for 25 years with a 1% escalator. And the battery only or the storage systems will also have replacement and warranty coverage for 10 years with a 0% escalator. So the program provides energy cost savings. One of the key factors to it is avoided transmission and delivery charges when using the solar and energy, using the solar energy and the energy from the battery storage system. And another key portion of this is that the program will have us growing our distributed energy assets for future DR programs, including things like the potential for a virtual power plant. Provided this graphic so that you can get a view of the program flow. CEA is the authority and will be the off-taker for the generation. We have 3 agreements between CEA and Luminia, who is the program administrator. One is a professional services agreement, which lays out what the responsibility of the program administrator is, as well as CEA's responsibilities as a part of the program. We have a master power purchase agreement, which will be the solar plus battery agreement. That agreement, along with the master energy storage services agreement, which is the storage part of the agreement, each of those agreements, as we bring projects on board, will have an addendum added to that agreement, depending on the type of project that it has. So from that, Luminia will be contracting with the property owners. And so to incentivize allowing these projects to take place, commercial property owners will sign a site lease agreement where they will be receiving lease payments that will allow them to site the project on their property. If the property owner, it happens to be the tenant, then they will also sign an agreement with Clean Energy Alliance for the business rate. And that will be a rate commitment form that will have that will lay out the rate that the tenant will be paying. If the property owner is not the actual tenant, then the tenant will the tenant will be the meter owner, or the person paying the utility bill will be responsible for signing the business commitment forms. Of course, Luminia will be contracting with local contractors, and they have an EPC, engineering, procurement, and construction agreement outside of the agreements that we have. So some more information about the program. For the solar and battery portion, you get a blended per kilowatt rate for solar and battery systems, ranging from 25 cents a kilowatt hour to 50 cents a kilowatt hour. And the rate is based on a baseline project cost, which is in the, if you'll look at the rate documents, the baseline project cost, but it'll also be adjusted for variables, which will include things like rooftop versus carport solar, the complexity of the installation. Some will need utility service upgrades. There's also the distance to where the interconnect will be. So those variables will cause adjustments in the actual rate that the customer pays. Just to give you a view, we wanted to give some samples, some conservative samples for the solar and storage systems. We have small 100 kilowatt to 200 kilowatt, medium 300 to 600, and large 600 to 1,200 kilowatts. And I think these, I want to verify, but we have conservative numbers in the average bill savings in year one. But then if you look over the term, for these are 25-year terms, you look at the average bill savings. We're talking about just what they save on their bill, and it's estimated. It varies on load consumption profile and then specific attributes. Each customer will use their system differently, so just want to say we're being conservative on these numbers. And the savings, how they get their savings, there's several ways. It's the rate switch from LTOU to DGR, but they also have CEA generation offset. You got delivery offset from SDG&E, and the ability to do peak shading. Now that you have solar, you can charge the battery, you can discharge your battery during other times to actually help make your usage profile cleaner. Now for the storage, which is available to two areas, if you have existing solar and you want to add storage to your portfolio, that's available, but also it's available for commercial businesses that just want to do things like, I want to charge at night and then discharge at a better time because I'm using a lot of energy during, let's say, our 49 period. So the storage rates range from $5 a kilowatt hour to $15 a kilowatt hour of installed capacity per month. And so those, again, we have a baseline project cost, and we have variables that adjust the actual rate that they pay, including the size of the battery, indoor versus outdoor placement, utility upgrades, switchgear capacity, installation complexity, and of course, distance to point of interconnection. Again, some conservative storage estimates on the percentage, the average bill savings for small, medium, and large size storage units. And the saving sources are, the same where you have CEA generation, the rate switch, SD delivery offset, and the ability for peak shade. For fiscal impact, the intent of the program is to have no fiscal impact to CEA by structuring each customer agreement to pay for the full system cost. However, we've evaluated there are 3 potential financial risks that staff believes to be relatively low and manageable. One is if a tenant could vacate and just not make the payments. And most of that risk is mitigated due to negotiated detailed contract terms with Luminia and also with the tenants. The second one is that the customer does not pay their bill, which is a risk that we could have. Now, that risk is inherent in our business model, and it's mitigated through our CEA's bad debt reserve policies and procedures. And we have an anticipated small administrative fee for the billing support and implementation. Now, we have not determined the exact amount, but it's expected to be similar to the existing rates we already pay for our Solar Plus residential program. And again, the recommendation, staff, of course, the recommendation is that the Clean Energy Alliance Board of Directors conduct a hearing and adopt a resolution and approve program agreements, and we are available for questions.
Thank you. Any questions on this item? And would I have a motion to close the public hearing, adopt the resolution, and approve the agreements with Luminia?
Thank you so much for that presentation. That was really thorough and really great. I would move approval.
Thank you.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Board Member Figueroa.
Aye.
Alternate Board Member Blackburn. Board Member Nunez.
Yes.
Board Member Spellich.
Aye.
Board Member Becker.
Yes.
Chair Melendez.
Yes. Thank you. We are now moving on to our second public hearing, considering adoption of resolution amending Clean Energy Alliance rate schedule to update the wholesale market access tariff rate effective January 1, 2026. I will now open the public hearing, and we will begin with a presentation and a request for speakers. Do we have any speakers?
We don't have any speakers on the side.
Let's proceed with the presentation.
Thank you, Chair Melendez, member of the board. As you mentioned, this is another public hearing to establish rates for CEA's wholesale market access tariff. As the recommendation, we're seeking the board's conduction of the public hearing. We're seeking approval of resolution 2025-045, which would amend CEA's rate schedule to update the wholesale market access tariff effective January 1st, 2026. By way of background, the wholesale market access tariff is available. It's a tariff that's implemented by CEA to available to large load customers of 150 gigawatts or more per year. This portfolio is managed separately given its size than our basic load for the rest of our customers. The rates are set to recover costs of the portfolio, including CEA's administrative costs. It does require a positive enrollment form, meaning that applicants or customers in this tariff would positively enroll. And then because of the size impacts and associated with procurement of this energy to serve this load, there's a 3-year opt-out notice requirement. And that protects CEA's other customers from any kind of rate volatility. So we are, as I mentioned, the board did approve this wholesale markets access tariff that was done in October of 2023 and established the terms and conditions under which the tariff would be implemented and customers would be enrolled. The board adopted the rate in July of this year, 2025, of 11.35 cents per kilowatt hour, effective August 1st. That was an updated rate. The action for this item for the board to consider is setting the rate for 2026. We have updated the cost portfolio, and by virtue of that analysis and working with the County Water Authority, we are proposing to raise that rate from 11.35 cents per kilowatt hour to 11.759 cents per kilowatt hour, sufficient to cover portfolio costs, projected demand and load, and administrative costs. We'd like to mention that Brent Fountain from County Water Authority is here, and we're working closely with them as we do on a regular basis. I'd like to thank him for his participation in coordinating with us and working on this tariff. And that concludes the report.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing and adopt staff's recommendation?
I'll move.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. No further public comments. Please have to vote.
Board Member Figueroa.
Aye.
Alternate Board Member Blackburn. Board Member Nunes.
Yes.
Board Member Spelling.
Aye.
Board Member Becker.
Yes.
Chair Melendez.
Yes. Thank you. That item passes. Next, we will have a regulatory update from Tim with Keys and Talks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Chair Melendez, members, thanks again for the opportunity to present to you. We are going to do an update on the SPG 2026 era forecast case. This is your PCI rates. The PCI rates come out of this case. I have good news in this proceeding, and then I have bad news in this proceeding. Just to do our normal level set here, recall that PCI rates have both a forecast component, that's the forecasted indifference amount. Our good news comes from that blue circle. And then we also have a true-up component that trues up the forecasted rates for 2025 with actual costs and revenues that the utility incurred during this year. Our bad news comes from that component. On Monday, we received 2 more months of actuals via what's called an advice letter before the Public Utilities Commission. So SDG reported actuals for September and October of this year, and that is going to increase the year-end POW balance, the portfolio allocation balance and account balance. We'll talk about that in just a second. Okay, so recall that the main reason that we are seeing PCI rates increase is that teal circle right there. It's the market value of the utility portfolio. There are 3 components that make up that market value. You start with the energy index over there. That's the value of the utility's energy resources. then there is the RPS adder, the green circle in the middle on the second row. That is the value of their renewable energy resources. Our good news is comes through that circle right there. And then you have the RA adder, which is a kind of dark green circle up there. That's the value of their capacity resources. All three of those indexes, all three of those market price benchmarks went down this year, both on a forecast basis and a true-up basis. That decreased the market value of their portfolio, which means that their difference amount went up and your PCI rates are going to go up. I'm going to come back to this slide in just a second, but these are the updated rates based on that Monday advice letter. You'll see that we are still looking at very high increases to the PCIA across the board here. Okay, first to the good news. Going back to that RPS adder, the green circle, the last time I was here, I noted that there was one outstanding issue in this case having to do with whether SDG&E should value banked renewable energy credits or RECs that were generated in 2018 and earlier at that market price benchmark. SDG&E had proposed to use these what are called pre-2019 banked RECs to meet a shortfall in their RPS compliance requirements, but they proposed in doing so to value those RECs at zero. The issue was actually a non-issue until the utility filed their opening brief. We had even waived hearings based on this issue, based on representations from them that we had no disputed issues of fact in the case. SDG&E then changed its story after our opportunity to cross-examine their witnesses closed. We raised those procedural improprieties with the judge and the commission. We worked strenuously to repair the record in the case. And 5 days ago, we got our proposed decision in the proceeding. It sides with us on SDG&E's tactics and states that we never had an opportunity to litigate the case. And it says that the utility, instead of using pre-2019 banked RECs, should use post-2018 banked RECs to fill any shortfalls. Those RECs are actually less controversial, and they will be valued at the benchmark at the RPS MPB. So to make that a little less Greek for you, what that means is more RECs are going to be valued at that green circle in the second row there at the RPS adder. So that circle gets bigger, which means the market value of their portfolio gets bigger, which means their PCI rates go down relatively. We submitted comments on this proposed decision on Monday, supporting the proposed decision, but also urging the commission to make this approach more permanent, regardless of which RECs are used, so we don't need to revisit and relitigate the issue again. Reply comments on this are due this coming Monday. The PD is scheduled, the proposed decision is scheduled to be decided on December 4th of this year. So good news there. On to the bad news. Also on Monday, as I said, we received their updated rates with more actual data from September and October of those years. The updated rates are reflected here. These rates do not include that win on the current win on the RPS MPB because they haven't been voted on yet by the commission. If we do win on these, the increases you see here to your various vintages will go down slightly. Starting at the top row though, you'll see that bundled customers rates will still be going up as of the end of this year, or that increase is less than it was. So it was going to be an increase of about 2.9 cents, and now it's going to be an increase of about 1.9 cents. And then you will also see the various vintages here for you all are either going to go up compared to the last time I talked to you by about half a cent to 0.3 cents. The question I imagine you might have is why? Why are these going up? Basically what happens in these advice letters is SDG is taking actual costs, actual revenues that they got in September and October and just pushing them through their balancing accounts. So there really shouldn't be too much here. The numbers are kind of the numbers. Some year these updates go in our favor, some year these updates go against us. Here again, the updates are going against us this year. Particularly striking, of course, is the Oceanside and Vista vintage has seen a 5.6 cent increase at this point, which is very high. But, you know, going back to this slide, the increases are large across the board here. That's all I have for you today. have any questions on this or the cost of capital case that was raised or the Esther case that was raised as well, but this feels like the most pressing issue right now for everybody.
Any questions? All right, we look forward to your report in December after they have a chance to vote.
Thanks, Judge.
We just have good news.
Good news.
Yeah, do my best.
We'll do our best. All right, thank you. And were there any public comments on that item? We don't have any speakers on this. All right, in that case, we will move on to our final item, reviewing options for customer electricity cost rate relief. And we will start with a presentation from our staff.
Thank you, Chair Melendez, members of the board. In following the presentation that was just provided to you on the PCIA rate increases by virtue of the 2026 ERA forecast. As you recall, we started this conversation last month about options to adjust to this significant increase in our PCIAs. Power charge and difference adjustments for all our vintages in 2025 have been negative as a result of the portfolio value of SDG&E's costs. Anyway, so we're continuing this discussion. The board directed us to come back with options to look at this, and I will preface this presentation by saying the presentation and the numbers you're going to see do not yet include the updates to the PCIA by virtue of that advice letter that Tim just reviewed for you. What I can tell you is that the cost and the costs incurred by CEA for each of the options will increase. The premiums potentially paid by CEA customers if we do nothing will increase by virtue if those PCIAs and the bundled rates projected now by SDG&E hold firm. But what I can also tell you is that none of that changes the approach we're still proposing here in considering rate relief or a program where we can offer customers who may decide, well, maybe I should opt out, a rate product that would not only put them at parity on a monthly basis with SDG&E's bundled customers, but in all cases except the 2017 vintage would save them money. So just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that the numbers that we're about to review, again, are per the October update, not the November 17th advice letter. Just as a reminder, some of the things we touched on during the last board meeting, that our strategic plan approved by the board as a guiding principle to build and maintain financial stability, it's a core goal of all CCAs. That strategic work plan goal has translates to getting to a place where we can achieve an investment grade credit rating. So the earliest we can do that is the sooner the better. Just wanted to underscore that Clean Power Alliance, the largest CCA in the state that operates largely in the LA area and SoCal Edison's territory, recently announced via the press that it had received an upgrade in their credit rating from Standard & Poor's to A-, which is a notable increase. And Valley Clean Energy up in Northern California in the Davis area recently announced its credit rating of A-, which it received last month, which underscores the importance of just how vital those credit ratings are when you see CCAs touting the achievement. It makes it easier for us to, as a key benefit for that credit rating. It's a best practice, of course. Energy suppliers demand it to some extent or expect it. You get better pricing, better terms. There's not a requirement typically for a letter of credit, which can impact your balance sheet, and it goes against our credit availability. It minimizes collateral requirements, as I just mentioned, and it just as a long-term prospect provides lower overall pricing, and both on our resource adequacy as well as our renewable energy products. So those are key elements of our strategic plan. The other thing that this does is it helps build our days liquidity on hand, which is a covenant by our creditor, JP Morgan. The industry typically looks at 150 to 180 days liquidity on hand as a standard at which credit ratings would be considered and issued. And so staff's estimating, based on our current projections, if we do nothing and with our rates the way they are, that we would be eligible to meet those requirements and have a credit rating sufficient to seek a days liquidity on hand sufficient to seek a credit rating in fiscal year 2028. Just again as an update, although Tim mentioned this, SDG&E and all the IOUs publish their expected generation and PCIA rates throughout the year. This says the recent October update, and I'll go ahead and say what that is. Projected a bundled rate increase of 19%. As just reported by Mr. Lindell, that has decreased by 7%. So they're projecting a bundled rate increase for their customers of 12%. The PCIA rates are again expected to increase significantly more, an average of 3.1 to 5.1 cents per kilowatt hour. And as you just saw, that's slightly increased based on the November update. And this will, of course, increase our PCIA rates for all our vintages per kilowatt hour. The advice letter, as I just mentioned, was just issued. Again, I mentioned there again that we have not fully analyzed those impacts, and those final rates will be published December 31st. Having problems with our dates today, 2025, not 2002. And based on all these rates, as I mentioned, if we did nothing, CDA's customers would be paying a premium. One thing that was talked about at the last board meeting in talking about this topic is what the impact might be if we were to just say, okay, SDG&E is raising its rates, we're just going to hold our rates firm, recognizing that because of the PCIA, the PCIA that's really would drive that cost competitiveness, cost differential. If we did nothing, would that result in a slew of opt-outs by our customers? What this is intending to show is our rates versus opt-out since inception, since creation of CDA back in 2021. Our rates were at its lowest, as you can see there. The participation rate, not surprisingly, starts at 100 and drops down to 92%, holds steady at 92%. Even as rates increased, it held steady at 92%. And then the participation rate went up as we expanded, even as our rates went up, dropped off a little bit after post-expansion of those service territories. And with our most recent rate increase, we saw very little in the way of opt-outs. This just highlights the fact that and this was also supported, this is evidence that is supported by studies that CalCCA, together with a group called the Sea Change Institute, did some surveying about this through CCAs across the state, and really could find no direct correlation between the rates that CCAs charge and the number of opt-outs. Primary focus, most people surveyed, and this is true for us, who opt out, do so primarily because of the automatic enrollment. They just tend to have a concern with that. They don't want to be automatically enrolled. That's what the state law provides, and they opt out. That isn't to say cost is not a concern, but they're in evaluating all the CCAs at the time. There were 20 when they did the research. There was no real direct correlation between how CEAs or CCAs adjust their rates and whether or not customers either opt in or opt out. In fact, most CCAs throughout the state have offered cost benefit, and they haven't seen any difference in terms of participation rates based on that cost reduction for their incumbent IOUs. Just to preface the whole conversation by saying there tends to be a very loose, if any, correlation between rates and opt-outs. So what we've done is, this is a comparison of our standard residential rate, the rate at which most of our residential customers enrolled time of use DR1. You can see there on the left, upper left part of the screen, SDG&E's average bundled customer at a 41.4% renewable content pays about $180 per month. You can see for CEA's product, and this is again at our current rates and current PCIAs, you can see where we would be relative to SDG&E. And you can see on the bottom part of that there's a premium for those renewable products in the amounts for each vintage year. We have 4 vintages, and they slowly go down. And this is if we did nothing and the PCIAs that we've been talking about go into effect. As I believe I alluded to, 2017 is the highest PCIA currently. and would pay the most in terms of a premium against the SDG&E on a monthly basis. So one of the things that the board asked us to do is come back with some options. So the options that we're considering for rate relief are a 3% rate reduction across all rate classes, commercial and residential, a 5% rate reduction across all rate classes, a Carefare customer credit, and then a fourth option that would adjust CEA's base product, the Clean Impact 50% renewable, to parity with SDG's monthly bill for the vintage year with the highest PCIA, in this case 2017 or Solana Beach, so that we would adjust the rate for this Clean Impact product, the 50% renewable, so that on a monthly basis, you would be paying the same amount as a bundled customer in the 2017 vintage or Solana Beach territory. That would result in rate savings for all other vintages because they've got lower PCIAs. And that remains true whether you're looking at the October forecast or the recent November 17th advice letter. So two possible implementations exist for this scenario, this option, and that would be whether we apply it to residential customers only, or we apply it to all customers, residential and commercial. Let me back up here for a second. I wanted to state that with the third option, the Carefare option, we mentioned this in the last board meeting, that applying a credit is difficult, if not impossible to do, given the technical aspects of SDG&E's system. To apply a credit is prohibitive at this time, working with Calpine. SDG&E is currently working on their IT system to be able to handle that. They expect implementation of that correction in the first quarter of 2026. So moving on to these different options and the analysis of these options. So a 3% rate decrease for all CEA rates. That would reduce CEA's annual revenues by $12 to $12.5 million per year. And again, that's at the October update. That will grow based on the current November 17th advice letter. It would extend the time for us to be able to achieve credit worthiness and achieve an investment grade credit rating by about a year. And as you can see there, the days liquidity on hand, I'll show you a comparison chart at the end, but the days liquidity on hand decrease over time or slightly less on an annual basis. And so in FY28, we're at 169, just below where credit raters agencies want to see us. So it's really not until FY29 that we'll be looking at that, obtaining a credit rating. You can see down at the bottom that even if we implemented this 3% rate decrease, customers would still be on average paying for each vintage more than SDG&E customers bundled customers on a monthly basis. 3% rate decrease, you can see there, it ranges from about $3 per month in vintage 23 to about $8 per month in vintage 27. The next option we looked at was a 5% decrease, and as you can imagine, this just increases the cost on an annual basis, upwards of $20 to $22.5 million per year. And again, that's based on the October update. That would extend our ability to get a credit rating by about 18 months and impact our net position on an annual basis. And again, even with a 5% rate decrease, you can see on the bottom there, the very bottom row of the lower chart, that customers would still be paying a slight premium to SDG&E bundled customers, ranging from about $2 per month to about $7 per month. As I mentioned, the Carefare customer credit for implementation challenges has essentially been eliminated as an option for you to consider, but we wanted to report back that we're still looking at working with Calpine and SDG&E to at some point be able to implement credits if that's something that the board chooses to do in the future. So that brings us to this clean impact rate set to SDG parity. And by parity, we mean the same as SDG on a monthly average bill basis. So there are three options for customer enrollment here. As you know, customers are currently enrolled at our default product, Clean Impact Plus, which is 50% renewable, 75% carbon free. And again, reminding everyone that SDG's current renewable portfolio standard is at 41.4%. We have the Clean Impact product, which customers could then opt down to, that's 50% renewable, or a Green Impact product where customers can opt up to 100% renewable. So the proposal here would be to adjust our Clean Impact rate to 50% renewable for a 12-month period as a customer retention rate relief option for customers who are seeking either to opt out or seeking to get rate relief. Our objective would be to mention to people and during public engagements. The residential customers who opt down would receive a credit, and I don't want to confuse you that this is a different type of credit. We would actually set the rate for that Clean Impact product at the 2017 vintage monthly bill. And so those customers in the 2017 vintage in Solana Beach, if opting down, would be paying the same amount as a bundle customer in SDG&E territory. But because the PCIAs are less in all three other vintages, all other customers who enroll in that product for all other cities in our territory would receive a rate savings. We're currently working with Calpine on the implementation of this, and I'll get into that a little bit more here. First, just to show you what that would look like is, again, we have the $180.50 roughly bundled customer on the left there. If we implemented this parity for the 2017 vintage, you can see that for Solana Beach, it would be $180, same as SDG&E, and then for all other customers who enrolled in that product, it would, you'd see rate savings, which are down in the yellow below, of up to $4.69 per month. So customer savings of about $10 per month for all customers in that product. As it compares to Clean Impact Plus. And then, as I mentioned, $4.69 compared to SDG&E savings. So if you look at all of these different options that we've laid out, you can see the current plan, days liquidity on hand, changing that position, starting out in fiscal 26 of 65 days, hitting 199 days at fiscal 28 at 81.2 million net position. So the 3% decrease, you see that decreases days liquidity on hand, decreases our net position. 5% decrease, of course, further decreases our net position, further puts delays of the ability to get a credit rating. And then the option that we're recommending is this rate parity option of Clean Impact Plus would have a minimal impact on days liquidity on hand and a minimal impact on net position on the out years. And so this cost comparison, I want to underscore, estimates an opt down of 30,000 residential customers. And that's a very conservative number. Keeping in mind that the objective here is to offer a product to our customers who are concerned about cost savings or the fact that the PCIAs are going up, their costs are going up, that they can opt down into this rate class and save money or be held constant if you're in the 2017 vintage. So we're recommending this option 4, for the reasons that I've just outlined. It has least impact to our net position, has relatively no impact to our days liquidity on hand and our ability and timeline for applying for and receiving a credit rating, which can reduce costs overall to not only our portfolio over time, but to our ratepayers. We're proposing this to be a limited time, so this would be a 12-month sort of pilot rate option. The idea would be that we would bring this item back to the board at the end of the calendar year 26, so that the board can assess how many customers took advantage of this kick rate savings option, what kind of opt-outs, if any, did we realize, and whether or not, based on the 2027 ERA forecast, the board would like to consider extending this rate parity option, is what we're calling it. And so those are the options we've laid out. That's the recommendation we're making, is to go with that option 4. The other consideration that the board, we'd like some direction from the board, is whether or not to include this. That was all residential customers. Is to whether or not to include this for commercial customers. One of the things that our data and billing consultant or contractor, Calpine, has indicated is that the quickest way to implement this parity rate product, hopefully by February 1st, which would hopefully be when this rate would go into effect, is to include this subtractor to everyone's bill to lock down for all rate classes. That would be the quickest way. We don't yet have a timeline on if we just applied it to residential. That's a more difficult, protracted data operation to carry out. The idea here would be, within that option, if the board did want us to apply it to commercial customers, in order to create the same parity that we're talking about for commercial customers, we've listed here in the bullet points below. 1 second here. Okay, sorry. I didn't move the slides. For residential, it would be 2.6 cents per kilowatt hour. Again, this is under the October scenario. These amounts would go up slightly for the November forecast if that goes into effect. Resident and small commercial, to get that parity, the highest vintage would be 1.8 cents for small commercial per kilowatt hour. For large commercial, the rate subtractor for clean impact would be 1.9 cents per kilowatt hour. If we applied the same, which is what Calpine is recommending for the most expeditious way to put this into effect, would be the same credit per kilowatt hour at 2.6 that we apply to residential across the board. Those benefits to commercial customers would grow. Because as you can see here, if you increase the cents per kilowatt hour subtractor from 1.8 cents for small commercial to 2.6, clearly it's going to provide a better benefit for those commercial customers. For large commercial, again, you're increasing it, so it would provide a better benefit. And so what does that look like? That there again, you see for residential, this is just for residential, and I've already gone over this, but the comparison there is on the top, the $180. And on the right there is that the customers would all receive up to a $4.69 per month benefit who enroll in this clean impact product. If we added small commercial to that and we applied the residential rate, again, actually, this is small commercial. If we applied the parity rate to their product, you see there that the cost to us would be $1.2 million per year. If we applied the residential rate subtractor, that grows to $1.9 million. See in the bottom box there.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah.
That slide isn't changed. I don't know what you're showing there, but there it goes.
Sorry, thank you, Andy. So I was stuck on the residential slide. So this is the commercial, and what we're showing here is the savings in the yellow below. For the vintages below, you can see in forecasted era parity, you see the savings, and then using the residential parity, you see the savings. Again, and this is assuming that of the 27,000 roughly small commercial accounts, 20% opted down. The cost there would grow from 1.2 million if we just applied the actual parity cost to 1.9 if we applied the same residential subtractor. For large commercial, hopefully that changed, medium and large commercial, again, without looking at all of these and looking at the yellow below, you can see at the far right, using the residential parity, you can see the savings per month, which are quite substantial. If we applied the parity for commercial, you can see the savings there in the middle column is not as great. And on the far right, if we apply the residential, it grows. And that cost incurred by CEA to provide that parity to commercial customers would grow from 2.6 million if we applied parity to that rate class, and up to 3.6 million if we applied the residential factor. I apologize if this is confusing. Suffice it to say, what we're looking for is whether or not the board has some desire to apply this rate benefit to commercial customers. And if so, would the board like us to apply the same rate reduction across the board as residential? Or would they like us to modify it so that it's also parity to the 2017 vintage? The reason this is still, we're still working with Calpine to be able to tell you how quickly we can implement it. Again, the quickest way to do this for Calpine is to apply that same 2.6 cents, which may grow to 2.9 cents per kilowatt hour across all rate classes if we add commercial. Whether we just if we apply it to residential only, that could take longer to implement. And at this point, we don't know how much longer it would take to implement. Our hope is it might be delayed a month to March, but we don't have that answer. And so our objective would be whatever the direction of the board is when we come back to you to tell you this is what the rate would look like, this is how we've applied it, and this is when it goes into effect. A lot of information to absorb there. I appreciate that, and I'll answer any questions I can, but the summary here shows that if we applied the clean impact base at parity for whatever rate class you're in, the ending net position in 2026 would be 87.3 million. If we applied it using the residential parity, that it would be 85.7. Again, slightly less net position. And so the days liquidity on hand at the end of the year would be relatively unaffected as current at 114 days. At 107 or 8 days compared to 114 if we did nothing. As the board considers this, again, just as a reminder, what we're trying to do here is balance our strategic goal of financial stability and creditworthiness with our desire to be competitive with our rates. That's a key balancing equation. We also want to balance our primary focus, which is on procuring and developing higher content renewable and carbon-free resources and meeting our member agencies' cap goals of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, with whether or not we should be trying to incentivize people to opt down to a lower renewable content product. So that's another balancing decision. And then whether to make option 4 apply just to residential or to both residential and commercial. And the subcomponent of that is at what rate do we apply across the board if the board wants us to apply it to commercial. So obviously looking for board direction, since I probably thoroughly confused everyone. Hopefully we can clarify whatever you need clarifying, get a confirmed timeline from Calpine on implementation, monitor this forecast as you see it changed this week to see where we land in December, and then come back to the board in January with the rate hearing if the board chooses to move forward with any change.
Thank you, Greg. We'll go ahead and take public comment at this time. I believe there were a few speakers.
We have 3 speakers. First one, Daniel Dominguez.
Can you leave that slide?
Chair, members of the board, thank you. My name is Daniel Dominguez, longtime Oceanside resident, member of the community advisory or community advisory council. And again, all my comments are as a private citizen. There was an article last week about delinquent accounts for people behind on the utility bills that increased 9.7. I know that the CDA had asked some information, and there were some 25,000 accounts that were behind for CDA. I suspect that number's probably grown. I haven't looked at it recently. My focus was on reducing the pressures on low-income people, was care and FARA customers. It's unfortunate that having a credit for those customers isn't in the realm of possibilities, but again, at this point, I won't look a gift horse in the mouth. So anything that would reduce the rates would be welcome, whether it's through credit or through rates. With respect to commercial customers, and whether, if I recollect, Greg, you stated that the rates don't really have a lot of impact on whether people opt out or don't opt out. So my recommendation would be to focus on the residential customers. That way we could provide rate relief, because these are extraordinary times for people. And the customers, the commercial customers, we maintain the same. And that way we can at least, we don't torpedo whatever our cap goals are. So with that, thank you. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Our next speaker is Steve Burrell.
Thank you, Steve Burrell from Oceanside. Your chairperson Melendez and board members, thank you for the opportunity to comment on this proposal. I come of interest to this, particularly for the elderly. I'm an advocate and active in the community. I'm wearing my AARP uniform, but I'm not representing them today. However, I just want to say that what I would have you do is consider this is part of a preventive move on your part, in the sense that research shows that, first of all, the aging population is the fastest growing portion of the homeless. It's overrepresented, and that's being increased. So from the prevention point of view, research shows that if we were able to provide some relief for people, even just a few $100s a month, to keep them from being homeless, that's the best investment that we could have. Because once you get to the point where you're homeless, then it costs far more. There's not places for people to go. We should all know that. So then what happens is you become homeless. I've met a couple of people, and I've got to tell you, I volunteer every week at a shelter to provide meals for the homeless in Oceanside. And I make it a point to speak to the elderly people that I encounter. I want to hear those stories. So I'll share with you just a couple of short, real quick. One individual been sleeping in his car for 3 years. And what happened was his wife had a dental procedure, and it ended up going really bad. And they exhausted their savings, and they lost their house. And he lost his wife, not just the home, sadly. Good news is, after 3 years, he just got a voucher, and he's now living in a place in Oceanside with a voucher that he got. Another example is a veteran that I met. He was in a place that cost about $1,200 a month, he said, been there for a long time, and he had an emergency. Part of it was medical, part of it was car repair, and he ended up out on the streets. Fortunately for him, he was a veteran, so he got a voucher, and he's back in a living situation rather than being on the streets. But just a couple of examples of what possibly, this may seem like a small amount, but every amount that we can do is important, I would say. So I basically just want to say, if you have the means to do this, I hope you will find the will, because I honestly believe that every bit that we do toward this end of keeping people off the streets, particularly our senior community, is what we should be doing. And so all of us collectively, there's no one answer to all of this. Most of you know, I know, on city councils and mayor, I believe, you understand this. I don't have to really say a whole lot about it, but I hope you do find the will. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker?
Next speaker, Jimmy Knott.
Chair, Commissioners, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane, Oceanside, California. First off, I want to tell you is I live in the mobile home park. And I can tell you that I've represented the mobile home community for over 30 some years. I've been a senior advocate for a long time before that. And I can also tell you that it's a choices of quality of life. You have to consider that. What do you want for your parents? What do you want for your relatives? These are the choices that you're making for it. Do you want them to be cold in the winter? Have to end up in the pantry? Do you want them to take and go to an NGO and beg, literally beg for support? These are things that are happening out there. And they are happening to even people within the mobile home community. To give you an example, the Social Security minimum is $1,093. I just checked it on my phone. The average is $22,063. The average rent in Oceanside is between $2,500 and $3,000. Guess what? Your Social Security won't pay it. So what happens is when you have utilities that are 42% higher than national average, what happens is, what choices do you make? You have to cut somewhere. I didn't see in your proposals up there a political avenue. You have a lot of people with electric cars now. There's different finances that are associated with fuel, that have petroleum fuel. There's nothing there about fee transfers that could be advocated for in Sacramento. Nothing there about a fee that could be asked for of the users. Let's say like 1/10 of a cent, saying that could go into a fund that could be, built up to help those who are indigent. You could look at sliding scales. Over 1/3 of Oceanside's population is soon to be seniors. Please help. That's all. Please.
Thank you for your comments. Yeah, I imagine we have a number of questions and comments amongst our board. If I could begin, I understand the bifurcation between commercial customers and residential customers with option 4. I just wanted to clarify, there was a 30,000 number that represented an estimate of what customers we expect to, or the capacity of option 4 that we would expect 30,000 customers. Does that include residential and commercial or just residential?
Thanks for the question. The assumption for that amount of opt-outs was just residential. So the assumptions we made, again, being conservative, we It's not likely that we'd have that many, but we needed to have a frame of reference for what the cost might be. That's just for residential. The assumptions we made for commercial, we didn't use a customer count, we used a percentage of those customers. So for example, for the small commercial customers, we estimated that 27% of the 27,000 of those accounts would opt out, so roughly 5,000 or so accounts. And then for the medium and large commercial, we again estimated 20%, but that's a much smaller number of accounts. That's 2,500 accounts.
So these percentages or the estimate of 30,000 customers opting down, those are our estimates that give us these approximate fiscal impacts
Only for residential.
for residential. And then beyond that, we can't be sure what the impacts would be in those projections. I would love to hear from the rest of the board. Do you have questions and comments? Member Figueroa?
Yeah, for implementation, you mentioned that including commercial would allow for the implementation to be the most effective, and that's according to the consultants?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and I'm assuming staff is just following that directive from the consultants, because if commercial is not included, then separating the residential and commercial, that's just the amount of effort that will take to break down those different individual accounts, correct?
That's correct. So under this scenario or these scenarios with this current error forecast, we're looking at about a 2.6 cents per kilowatt hour credit or subtractor for residential. And Calpine has stated that it would be easiest just to apply that 2.6 or 7 cents or whatever it ends up being credit or reduction or subtractor to everyone's bill across all rate classes. So that they are saying would potentially be able to be rolled out and implemented as of Feb 1. Again, we don't even have a firm date on that yet, but that is the easiest from a programmatic and logistical implementation strategy. As soon as you just say, okay, we just want that to apply to residential customers, keep commercial customers the same for all our current products, that's when the technical issues come into play where they have to separate out for residential customers only. And that could delay the implementation.
Additional questions and discussion? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, thank you to our speakers that took the time to be here today and have this conversation with us and inform us. I share the concerns that have been expressed by our speakers. I represent a community that is really underserved, and this is the issue that I hear from a lot of the residents. One, the cost that they already have, and then the sustainability of it. So affordability is definitely an issue that I hear firsthand from at least the residents that I represent, and I know it's also an issue with some of the other member cities. So when I think through what we're trying to decide today and the direction that we're giving to staff, I'm thinking about really if we decide to approve what staff is recommending. I'm thinking through what does that look like for the residents in terms of their decision making and what they would have to give up and as was mentioned, the quality of life that they are going to have. And so one of the things that would help me to think about this is can you remind us, Greg, if somebody's not able to pay their bill today, what does that look like? And then the second part of my question really then is, what would that process look like if a resident is going to make adjustments? What do they have to be behind on their bill? Do they are just fearful, and so for me, that would be helpful too, so that our residents know what options they would have.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So as of today, without any of these discussions going on, customers have programs that are in place through SDG&E and eligible to CEA customers that can assist with people who are really struggling paying their bills. We talk about this one constantly, the CARE and FARA program, alternative rates programs. That's right off the bat, if you're eligible for people typically in that group who are income eligible, it's a 30% savings on your bill. And it's undersubscribed. We just know it is. Same too with the FARA program, which is up to 18% rate savings. So we tried to coach people into that. We've actually recently helped people enroll in those programs. It's not a very difficult procedure to do so. There's also a neighbor-to-neighbor fund where you can borrow and use up to $300 on past due balances. There is an arrearage management plan that is available that includes debt forgiveness. And there's other payment arrangements. I would encourage any customer, either that you're in contact with or that we happen to talk to, that is struggling to contact SDG&E. We don't control power shutoffs. That is not our function. And so if you're at risk of not having power because you can't pay your bills, the first step is contact SDG&E, let them know what you're going through, and they will direct you to the programs that might be able to benefit you. I'm not trying to pass the buck, but that's the most effective and immediate way for rate relief today that you can get. With the program, an option we're talking about here, we would encourage our board members, our community advisory committee members, even staff when we're engaging with members of the community. We often meet with members of our mobile home communities and our lower income communities. We would encourage them to, if they have a price sensitivity, and if the board chooses to create this rate parity, rate relief product, to opt down to that product. For this year, they could realize, at least not be impacted to the extent that they would have been if they just endured. And let's keep in mind, SDG&E's rates are going up for bundled customers, but also the delivery costs are going up, and that affects our customers just as much as they're going up. I think in the same advice letter, 5.1%, their delivery costs are going up. That's in combination with 12% increase on bundled rates. Also going up for us is the PCIA. So we would tell customers, look, if you want to stay with us, have a higher renewable content of your energy, be eligible for programs that we roll out, whether SGIP funded programs for solar and storage or battery, or other of the energy efficiency programs you heard today through the San Diego Regional Energy Network, we'd encourage you to stay in CEA. And if cost sensitivity is your concern, opt down to the 50%. You'd be unaffected as of February 1 if we roll it out, or March 1st, whenever it goes into effect, and be able to stay in the program, CEA program, and take advantage of these other programmatic and energy efficiency programs. That's how I would couch it. It's a challenge for sure. We did have a conversation. I appreciate your comments and concerns, and Mr. Dominguez mentioned, I think again tonight, about arrearages. Encouraged to see that since we started doing, Cal CCA has been looking at this globally throughout the state since March when we looked at this. The total number of arrearages has gone down. I mean, we're talking millions of dollars lower than it was in March today. It's still high, and so that tells us there's still a challenge. But what I can tell you is there are programs in place to respond to people who are actively trying to make payments, but for whatever reasons cannot. So I would encourage anyone to contact SDG&E about those programs.
Thank you for that.
Member Welch?
I want to thank the speakers as well, because I have a great sympathy for the same issues that they raised. I think we need to move on this fast, obviously, because it is real. Did I hear you say, Greg, that the quickest way to do this is to include commercial?
Yes.
So that would.
According to Calpine, yes.
Because I think some people would argue that there are small businesses that are gonna potentially wanna tap into this as well, because they're struggling as well to make ends meet. So that's one thought, is if we can get this done faster, if commercials included, that's a consideration. There's one piece of information I feel like I'm missing, and maybe I'm party to one, but I'm gonna say it. To me, there's always a tension in these roles between you're an elected for you represent your city, but you're also a fiduciary responsibility to make the entity you're representing work properly. Have you thought through, or are you able to say at some point, keeping in line to get this investment grade credit rating, which seems to be a driver of your decision making, what's the brighter day beyond that quantified, in the sense that I know it's going to bring rates down because you'll get better rates from providers? I think that's the argument, right?
Yeah, it's one of the arguments, yes. Better terms, better, less collateral requirements, yeah.
Right, so is there a way to paint a picture for the board and for residents as to staying online to get that credit rating? What does it ultimately mean? Is that just too speculative to be able to calculate?
Yeah, it's really speculative and it's really forward-looking. What I can say, and appreciate the question, because our staff did do a little bit of time diving into just sort of the immediate, what kind of cost implications might be relieved or eliminated that CEA incurs by virtue of having a credit rating. And we estimated, and this is again all very kind of conceptual, that based on our portfolio of resource adequacy, short and long-term contracts, that we could save upwards or eliminate about this number's updated since I last chatted to you about this during our briefing, $4.8 million annually, potentially, just in savings cost to us. So anytime you're saving money as a CEA operationally, that means that the net position is growing, and that the net position then has eligible discretionary funds that could, many CCAs establish a rate stabilization fund. That's not an uncommon practice. In fact, these conversations are going on throughout the state at every CCA, and CCAs are diving into the rate stabilization funds to address their respective PCIA increases. So I can't give you a number, but what I can say is the sooner we get that credit rating, the sooner we can start realizing better contract terms, the more our benefit we'll see to our net position, and the more able we'll be to create that reserve fund that could offset these giant increases in PCIA.
And the last comment I'll make is, based on what we're seeing in home prices dropping, sort of parts of the economy being a lot soft. Stock market's doing great, but everything else is going a little bit soft. I'm pretty skeptical about your opt-down number. I just feel like it's going to be more, and I feel like as members, we're going to have responsibilities to talk to our constituents and make them some level of aware that there's possibilities out there. So we don't want to hurt our organization, but we also want our residents to know that if and when they need relief is there if they can get it. So I'm really skeptical of that $30,000 member number.
Yes, do you have questions before we go for another round?
Yes.
Not questions, but maybe.
Yes,
comments.
discussion, yes. So first of all, again, thank you to whoever came and spoke today. I hope you know that it really does affect our decisions, and we, I think you can tell, all really care about the comments and feel the things that you said, for sure. I think that I love that, you know, you came up with this creative fourth item, because this wasn't before us before, and so I do appreciate that, and I like it. I like the temporariness. Not quite understanding. I mean, I guess I'm disappointed that we have to wrap the commercial with the residential, because it looked to me like the commercial was getting even a better benefit than the residential, and I don't want that to happen. So I guess I just wanted to know a little bit more from Calpine, I guess, as to how hard is it to go ahead with the residential and maybe small business, or just something different than having to say we really should wrap it all together and at that 2.6 kilowatt. I also wondered if maybe if we have to wrap in the commercial, do we want to go with a different number, like 2 instead of 2.6? I mean, I just don't know. I don't feel like I have enough information on that. But I do like this option. I do feel like we are sort of saying like, oh, we don't want too many people to do it, but yet we should be getting it out to our residents that it's smart of them to opt down. So I'm a little conflicted about that. But I do appreciate this, and I do feel comfortable going with that number 4 option with maybe a little bit more information.
And just to respond, to thank you, Board Member Becker, the idea here would be to come back with that information. So if there's anything we can provide by way of intermediate information to the board or updates to what the time frame might look like, we can do that. If it is extended past February, we'd be coming back in January and saying, here's the timeline for this option. Here's the timeline for residential only. Here's the timeline for residential and commercial at the same subtractor rate. And here's the timeline for residential and commercial with rates set to create that parity at the 2017 vintage, because those are different. And that would address your issue or concern or express concern that commercial wouldn't be overly benefiting by setting it at that one residential parity subtractor rate.
The other thing I thought about is that if the rates are going up in January, but I know you can't work this out until February, would it be worthwhile to go ahead and double credit everybody for January as well, since?
That would also be a billing issue that might be challenging to do that for one bill. Residents or customers are not going to see the impacts of rate increases in their January bill. It's going to be their February bill that if they notice it, they'll notice that in February.
Okay, thank you. Back this way, number 3.
Greg, can you share with us what the implementation as far as getting the information out to our community on how to opt down? And I just think about the members in my district that are underserved. Low income tends to be predominantly Spanish speaking community. I also have a large senior community. And so in regards to getting the information out there for this being an option, and even, digital literacy for some of our more seasoned members of our community, how do we get this information out there to let them know that this will be an option?
Thank you for the question. So that again speaks to the challenge we have in terms of sort of a counterintuitive marketing effort to get people to, rate relief is an excellent objective, to get people to opt down to a lower content renewal product. So the more we market, the more likely the opt-downs will occur, the more opt-downs will occur, and then we start impacting our prospective member agencies' GHG reduction targets, as well as our own renewable portfolio standard requirement. So our objective here, and we'll take direction from the board, is this is largely a word of mouth engagement or marketing effort where we tell customers when we're out in the community, they ask us about rate relief. We haven't really developed any sort of proactive marketing approach, although we could. Again, it's that balance between our primary focus, which is to encourage and facilitate higher renewable energy content, with this rate relief option, which is actually going the other way, which is decreasing our renewable portfolio. That said, again, we can come up with some ideas and present them back to the board at that January meeting as well as to how extensive a marketing effort we want to employ for this rate product, because again, those are two competing interests, but we can certainly come up with something that targets, as you say, those communities that are probably most impacted by these higher energy costs. So we can certainly put together something.
I think even social media collateral just for the board members themselves to be able to share with their respective communities. I mean, it's still an authentic counterintuitive dilemma, but we're seeing increases across the board, whether it's with waste management, water, our community, every dollar makes a difference, as some of the members spoke today. Anyone that's on social security, disability, on a fixed income, every dollar, matters. And so, if it's social media collateral that could be established for the board, I would really appreciate it.
Okay. And by the way, as I mentioned, we did put that together, and I'll be getting that out to you after this meeting for Peak Smart. So it is something that we can do.
All right, thank you so much, board, for all of this discussion.
Chair, I do have a couple of follow-ups if I may.
Yeah, I was just gonna contribute just a few
Oh,
comments. I had a couple of questions for Greg. No problem. Well, we can absolutely come back around. But I just wanted to get a little bit of clarification before we move forward. I don't want us to lose sight on the value of our credit rating. And so I wanted to see if Greg, you had more details on, what we can expect in terms of better pricing and better terms in regards to. Oh, would you be able to clarify that while I was taking that?
Yeah,
Great.
so again, it's somewhat speculative, so it's hard to really tell you in long-term contract terms what we might get down the road. But what we have done is we've attempted to look at what some of the costs that we have incurred as an agency in terms of our counterparty negotiations, and what we've come up with is that on an annual basis, the cost that for the immediate costs that we've seen for some of the deals we've engaged in that have letters of credit or collateral requirements or price points, is that we could realize potentially about a $4.8 million per year benefit, or we would not expend that cost on an annual basis, at least based on what we've experienced in the past in our very young infancy as an agency. What that translates to down the road in terms of long-term PPA terms and requirements, which we have to be very careful about how we really would be restricted to some degree in being too detailed about that. How that translates to, I think the comment I made was, okay, 4.8 million that we're not expending. That's another 4.8 million to the net position. That's another 4.8 million per year that goes to potential reserve, a rate stabilization fund. And then down the road, if we are getting better pricing and less collateral requirements, that number could grow. And so hard to really put a detailed number on it, but that was kind of the analysis initially that we did.
Okay, back to you, Member Nunez.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to really express that I agree with Board Member Figueroa in terms of balancing and being proactive in sharing this information with the individuals that may not have access to it, may not be thinking about that. It's a possibility for them to make those adjustments. So I would definitely want to see some more information, some more detail on what that would look like, other than just word of mouth, because when I think about that word of mouth with the hard to reach residents, customers, that to me is not quite clear how that would happen. And so I definitely would want to hear more about that. And then in terms of the question about including our businesses, I do support including especially our small businesses. I hear a lot from the small businesses in terms of their ability to pay, especially the utilities. I know it's a cost that it's concerning for a lot of the businesses that I interact with directly. And so I'm in favor of including the businesses, but share the same concerns that Board Member Becker expressed about possibly the businesses getting some sort of higher benefit.
Thank you for those comments, and I understand we're not necessarily voting on this item today, but I think the direction has been very helpful. I agree with Member Becker. I don't have enough information regarding the impact of commercial in order to really provide succinct direction today. but I do agree. I really care about our customers and our constituents. That's why I'm here and I volunteer to serve this board, this organization. And it's difficult to balance, right, our long-term financial goals with the immediate needs of our constituents and just the cost challenges that they're experiencing. One of the things that really comforts me about this option 4 is that we have not seen a large reduction of customers when we increase our rates. So what I imagine could happen is that we institute this parity program that ensures that our clean impact product is in line with SDG&E rates, but we might not necessarily see people opt down to that because the behavior of our customers in the past has been to not take any action when they do experience a rate increase. And just to clarify, I think the word of mouth, I would like to expand on the marketing aspect of this as well. My understanding is that when a customer does call CEA and is concerned about their bill and is requesting to opt out, we can offer this as an alternative for them to opt down instead of opting out. We always want to empower our customers to make those choices about their participation with CEA in a way that best fits their needs. But from the historical information we've been able to see, we're not seeing a significant amount of change from customers when there is a change in their rates. I appreciate this being able to come back to us when we have a little bit more information, including really clear information about PCIA rates and what SDG&E rates are going to look like. But at this time, I am a little bit concerned about how it's going to impact our long-term financial goals, because ultimately, not only do we have goals to provide a greater renewable energy products to our customers, we also have goals to be competitive. And SDG&E is our competitor, and they are not reducing rates in the same way that we are. And so we do have to consider what the market looks like and how we're going to respond. And I want us to move forward in a sustainable fashion. I appreciate this being a pilot program, but I really do want us to take caution that if we respond to changes with a rate reduction, that might become unstable for the organization. Of course, customers don't necessarily know why their rates are increasing, whether it's because of PCIA rates or simply a decision of our organization. And so when it comes to marketing and communications, that might be something that we can conduct as well, is communicating to the public and to our customers that rates are increasing because of PCIA rates and not necessarily because of a choice of this board. So I appreciate all of the support from staff on this item. I believe we will be hearing more about this item in the future. But if there are no further comments, was there any further comments and information that you can provide, Mr. Wade?
I think that's provided direction, and if I just want to summarize, I think what we're doing is focus on option 4, come back with the options, the timelines, and on the marketing side, promotion side, how we would approach that as well. One comment I might add to that would be that the extent to which we market may drive the question as to whether we apply this across the board with commercial and residential. It's just something to think about for the board.
Yes, and also that one thing we haven't discussed here, we've talked a little bit about the fiscal impact to the actual change in the program and change in the rates. But if we were to aggressively market this, that would also have a fiscal impact that we would like to see, and staff would bring that information back as well. Okay, that ends that item. Meeting our next meeting will be on January 29th here. And I just want to say happy holidays to everyone. We'll see you for some time, but I appreciate your work, and thank you to my board and staff, and thank you to all of our members of the community who joined us. Thank you so much. You're adjourned.